worst neighbor you've ever lived next to. She complained to my supervisor that I wasn't doing my job, and my supervisor asked her how much she was paying me. Donna moved in next door last September with her husband Craig and their 2 kids, and for 3 weeks she was a perfectly normal neighbor. She brought cookies, she waved. She asked what I did, and I told her I was a registered nurse at the county hospital, day shift, medical surgical unit. That was the last normal conversation we ever had. The very next night my phone buzzed at 11:15. Her son had a rash on his elbow. Could I come look? I told her I couldn't diagnose anything outside of work and she should call his pediatrician in the morning. She sent a frowning face and said, I thought nurses were supposed to help people. 2 days later, 10:45, she asked if ibuprofen and acetaminophen could be taken together. I told her to check the labels. She said it would take me 2 seconds to just answer. I answered. That was my second mistake. After that, it was every single night. She texted me about her own headaches and asked me to compare what she described to a list of stroke symptoms she had read on a parenting forum. She texted me about Craig's stomach pain and asked if I thought he had appendicitis. She texted me about a mole on his back and sent 3 photos at 3 different angles in 3 different lighting conditions. She texted me about her daughter Diamond's sore throat and whether it was strep. She texted me about her son Boris's forehead and described what it felt like to her hand in 4 full paragraphs. She texted me at midnight asking if her cat sneezing twice was a sign of something. She texted me about the color of her own pee that day. She never called a doctor. She never went to urgent care. She never once opened a web browser and looked anything up herself. She had me. Why would she need a doctor when she had a free nurse 10 feet from her kitchen window? I started answering more slowly. I let the text sit for an hour before I responded. Then I stopped answering after 9. Then I stopped answering medical questions altogether and just sent the same reply every time. Copy and paste the same 8 words in the same order. You should see your doctor. Donna did not like that. She knocked on my door on a Sunday morning, still in her robe with her hair pulled back in a messy bun, and told me she thought we had an understanding. I asked her what understanding that was. She said, you're a nurse, and I'm your neighbor, and neighbors help each other. I'm not asking you to perform surgery, I'm asking basic questions. I told her the questions weren't basic, and I wasn't her doctor, and even if I was, I wouldn't be on call at 11 at night for free. She rolled her eyes. It's not like you're a surgeon. You're a nurse. You take temperatures and hand out pills. I don't see why you're acting like I'm asking for something unreasonable. I told her I worked 12 hours a day in scrubs, taking care of actual patients, and when I came home, I was off the clock. She said off the clock didn't apply to neighbors. I said it absolutely did. She said she couldn't believe I was being like this after she had brought me cookies. I closed the door. She knocked again, harder. I didn't open it. She knocked a 3rd time. I stood in the hallway and waited until I heard her footsteps go back down the steps. The next week, a neighbor named Gloria stopped me at the mailbox and told me Donna was telling people on the block I was stuck up and refused to help a mother with sick kids. Gloria said Donna told the woman across the street her son had been up all night with a fever, and I wouldn't check on him. I told Gloria that Donna's son had a mosquito bite on his ankle, and I knew because Donna had texted me a photo of it 3 nights earlier and called it suspicious. Then Donna started catching me on my way to my car at 6 in the morning. While you're at the hospital, can you ask one of the doctors about Craig's knee? Can you grab me some of those good bandages from the supply room? I told her I wasn't going to steal medical supplies. She said it wasn't stealing because hospitals had plenty, and her taxes paid for that hospital, which meant she was already paying for the bandages. I got in my car. She stood in my driveway watching me pull out like I had personally offended her. 2 weeks later, I came home from a 12-hour shift and there was a sticky note taped to my front door from Donna. A list of 5 symptoms Craig was having, with instructions to look them up in my medical books and get back to her by morning. I threw it away. Then she did the thing that ended all of it. She called my hospital. She asked for the nursing supervisor on the med-surg floor and got my charge nurse, Lorna. She told Lorna I had been neglecting my medical duties at home and she wanted to file a formal complaint. Lorna let her talk. Then Lorna asked one question. Ma'am, how much are you paying her for these services? There were 10 seconds of silence. Then Donna said that wasn't the point and hung up. Lorna told me at the nurse's station that afternoon, laughing, and said, honey, that is the point. I went to my supervisor, Aitana, before Donna could call back. I sat down with my phone and every screenshot saved and I laid it all out. The cookies, the 11:15 rash, the ibuprofen text, the mole, the strep, the 4 paragraphs about a forehead, the sneezing cat, the driveway ambushes, the sticky note, the request to steal bandages. Aitana scrolled through the texts herself and her face changed slowly as she read. At first she looked like she was being polite, like she figured this was a small dispute I was blowing up. Then her eyebrows went up, then her mouth opened a little. She looked at me, then back at the phone, then back at me. When I got to the bandages, she put her hand flat on the desk. She asked you to steal medical supplies from this hospital, and she put that in writing. I nodded. She closed her eyes for a second. Then she opened them and told me the complaint had 0 merit, no HR file, nothing on my record. She leaned forward. People like this don't stop after one call. You document every text, every visit, every word she says to your neighbors, dates and times. If she calls here again, I want a paper trail so thick she chokes on it. I told her I understood. She said she would make a note of our conversation. I walked out of her office feeling like I could breathe for the first time in days. I went home that evening expecting Donna to be quiet, and Donna was anything but. She was sitting on her front porch in a folding camp chair, arms crossed, watching my house. She wasn't on her phone. She wasn't reading anything. She wasn't watching her kids play in the yard. She was watching my house. When I pulled into my driveway and got out of my car, I looked over and she was looking right at me. She didn't wave. She didn't smile or frown. She just sat there and stared at me while I walked from my car to my front door, and her eyes followed me the whole way, like I was something she was keeping track of. I went inside and locked the door behind me and stood there in my hallway just breathing. My house was supposed to be the place I stopped being a nurse and started being a person again. Now it felt like I was being kept track of in my own driveway by someone who wanted me to know she was watching. The next morning, morning, Gloria texted me at 7. Donna had been at the mailboxes the evening before and cornered 2 neighbors. She told them I almost got fired. She told them the hospital agreed with her. I read that standing in my bathroom with my toothbrush in my hand. Donna had been on that call. She had heard the question, she had hung up, and now she was rewriting it into a victory she didn't have. I didn't panic. I opened the notes app on my phone and started a log. Date, time, what Gloria said, the names of the 2 neighbors, the exact lie. Itana told me to document everything, so I did. For 3 days, Gloria texted me whatever she heard, and I added every line to the log. In one version, I had yelled at her kids. In another, I had slammed the door in Boris's face while he was visibly sick. In another, I had told Donna at the mailbox that her family was a burden on the block. On the second day, I learned from Gloria that the older woman at the end of the block had been told by Donna that I had been investigated by the state nursing board. None of it was true. None of it could be checked, but each story was small enough and ugly enough that nobody had a reason to question it. On the 4th day, Gloria texted that the older woman at the end of the block had turned her head when I drove past, and the man 2 houses down from her who used to wave at me every morning hadn't waved in 4 days. Gloria said, I don't think he's being mean. I think he just doesn't want to pick a side. I sat in the break room at the hospital and read that text and felt cold. The campaign was working. Donna had gotten to people first, with her version, and they filled my silence with whatever she gave them. I had been quiet. I had been documenting. I had given them a closed front door and a car pulling out of the driveway at 6 in the morning. Donna had given them a story, with tears and emotion, and her hand pressed to her chest as a mother running at full power. Of course they believed her. She was the only one talking. That Friday, I worked 12 hours, 2 admissions, 1 patient who coded and came back, and I pulled into my driveway dry-eyed, and Donna was standing on the sidewalk right at the edge of my driveway. Craig was with her, hunched over with one hand pressed to his lower back, his face tight like he was trying not to show how much pain he was in. He kept shifting his weight from one foot to the other. Donna saw me through the windshield and turned to him and said, loud enough for me to hear through the closed window, see, there she is. Let's ask her since she's right there. My whole body went heavy. I sat in my car for 5 more seconds just looking at them through the windshield. Donna was watching me with that look she gets, that mix of expectation and challenge. Like she already knew what I was going to say, but she was going to make me say it anyway. I got out. Donna walked toward me and said Craig had been having back spasms for 2 days, and could I just tell them if he needed an emergency room? I looked at Craig. His face was pale and sweaty. He was gripping his back with both hands. I looked at Donna and said what I had said 100 times. He needs to see his doctor. Donna threw both hands up. He doesn't have a doctor. That's what I keep telling you. She said it like that was a problem I was responsible for solving in my driveway at 7 o'clock on a Friday night after a 12-hour shift. I stood there holding my keys in my bag. Then Craig spoke. He had barely said a word to me in all the months they had lived next door. I don't think we had exchanged more than a handful of sentences total. He looked at me, his voice low, almost embarrassed. I'm sorry about all this. She means well. Something about how he said it made my chest hurt. He looked tired. Not from the back pain. Tired in the way people look when they've been pulled into something they didn't sign up for, and they don't know how to get out of. I told him, Craig, you need to go to urgent care tonight. I can't help you, and she knows that. Donna stepped forward and cut in, her voice sharp and loud. You won't help us. There's a difference. I held her gaze for 1 second. Then I turned around and walked to my front door and went inside. I didn't slam it. I didn't say another word. I dropped my bag on the floor and walked to the window that faces Donna's side of the yard and looked through the blinds. Donna hadn't moved. Her arms were crossed, and she was staring at my front door like she was waiting for me to come back out. Craig was standing behind her, one hand still on his back, looking at the ground. She stood there a full minute. I counted. Then Craig walked up and put a hand on her shoulder and slowly turned her around and walked her back across the yard. She looked back at my door one more time before she went inside. I sat down at my kitchen table and pulled out my phone and typed the date and time and every word into the log. The next morning, Gloria asked me over for coffee. Said she had something to tell me in person. I walked down the street and she let me in and poured me a cup at her kitchen table and looked at me with a look that was half sympathy and half satisfaction. And she said it straight. I wasn't the only person on the block Donna had tried to turn into her personal servant. Not even close. The couple 2 houses past Donna's. The husband worked HVAC. Within a month of moving in, Donna had him over for free vent checks, thermostat checks, air filter inspections. She had told him it was just neighborly. He had gone over a few times because he was trying to be nice. Same exact trap I had fallen into with the ibuprofen text. When he finally said he couldn't keep doing it for free, Donna went to his wife and told her he had been rude and aggressive and made her feel unsafe. His wife almost believed her. Almost had a real fight with her own husband over something that never happened. There was also a woman down the block who did hair out of her home. Donna had been bringing her whole family there for months, always with a promise to pay, never paying. Boris and Diamond and herself, sitting in this woman's kitchen chair, $300 in unpaid trims. When the woman finally asked for the money, Donna told other neighbors the home salon was unsanitary and used expired products. Gloria said, she does this to everyone. She finds out what you do and she uses you until you cut her off. Then she burns you down. I sat there with my hands cold around the mug. The pattern was identical. I was not crazy. I was not overreacting. I was not some selfish nurse who wouldn't help a neighbor. Donna had a system. Find out what someone did for a living. Use that skill for free. Guilt them into saying yes. And the second they said no, destroy their reputation. She did it to a nurse. She did it to an HVAC guy. She did it to a hairdresser. The job didn't matter. The person didn't matter. What mattered was that they had something she wanted, and she believed she was owed it. Over the next 2 days, I went to both women separately. I went to the HVAC wife first. She invited me in, and we sat at her dining room table, and she told me the whole story. She said when Donna first started calling her husband, he thought it was just a new neighbor who didn't know how things worked in the house yet. He went over a couple of times, checked her vents, looked at her thermostat, showed her how to change the air filter. Normal stuff. Then it became every week. Then twice a week. Then late night texts asking if he could come over real quick to look at something. Sound familiar? familiar. When he finally told her he couldn't keep doing it for free, Donna came to his wife while she was watering her garden and told her he had raised his voice at her and made her feel unsafe. The wife looked at me across her table and said, "She made me feel like my husband had done something wrong." I almost believed her over him. That's how convincing she is. Her eyes were a little wet when she said it. I reached over and squeezed her hand because I knew that feeling. The next day I went to see the hairdresser. She was warm and direct and laid it all out in the first 5 minutes. Donna had been coming to her for months, always with a smile, always with a promise to pay, always bringing Boris and Diamond and saying the kids just need a little trim. It'll take 2 seconds. It never took 2 seconds. The money never came. She finally added it up one night and the total was over $300. When she sent Donna a polite text asking her to settle up, Donna didn't even respond. Within a week, 2 different neighbors mentioned to her that they had heard her home salon was unsanitary and that she used expired products. She looked at me. She owes me over $300 and she acts like I'm the problem for asking. I told both women everything. The texts, the driveway ambushes, the sticky note, the hospital call, Lorna's question, and Donna's silence. Donna going around the block telling people I almost got fired. The HVAC wife's jaw dropped when I told her about the hospital call. The hairdresser shook her head slowly and said she wasn't even surprised anymore. Both of them had the same look on their face, the one I recognized from my own mirror, the look of someone who spent months thinking they were the only one and just found out they weren't. I drove home thinking about 3 households and 3 identical stories. I didn't tell Gloria what I was going to do. I didn't tell anyone. The next day at work, I asked Lorna if the written statement she had offered me was still on the table. She said it was. By Friday, I had it in my hand. 1 page, signed and dated on hospital letterhead. The facility received a call from a Donna on the listed date. The caller made the following accusations. The caller was asked one clarifying question regarding compensation. The caller declined to answer and terminated the call. No complaint was filed. No record was opened. No disciplinary action exists or has been considered. I folded it into a folder with the screenshots and the log. Saturday morning, I drove to a print shop 2 towns over because I didn't want anyone at the local one seeing what I was printing and asking. I ran 5 copies of a small packet. The first page was Lorna's statement. The second page was a screenshot of Donna's first text at 11:15, the rash photo blurred out at the corner. The third page was the sticky note, photographed on my kitchen counter under good light. The fourth page was a transcribed list of dates and quotes from the log, single-spaced, 2 columns. The fifth page was a 1-line note from me. If she does this to anyone else, you have what you need. I drove home with the packets in a plain folder on my passenger seat. I walked 1 packet to Gloria, 1 to the HVAC neighbor, 1 to the hairdresser, 1 I kept in my drawer. The 5th one I held in my hand for a long time, on my front porch. Then I walked across the lawn and put it in Craig's hand at his own front door, while Donna's car was at the grocery store. He looked at the top page and looked at me and didn't say anything. I told him, "Craig, I'm not asking you to do anything. You can read it or you can throw it away." He took it inside. 3 days passed. No texts, no knocks, no sidewalk. Then Thursday evening, I came home from work and there was a white envelope in my mailbox. No stamp, no return address. My name and handwriting I recognized from the sticky note. I opened it at my kitchen table. 2 sheets of notebook paper, both sides. Donna's careful hand. The first page almost got me. She had had time to reflect. She'd probably asked too much of me. She was sorry if it felt like she was taking advantage. She had been scared for her kids. Craig wouldn't go to doctors. She didn't trust the internet to give her real answers. Having a nurse next door had felt like a gift at first, and she got carried away. She missed when things were simple, back when she brought cookies and we were just 2 women on a nice street. She used the word sorry twice. She used I understand 3 times. By the bottom of the first page, something warm had opened in my chest, and for 30 seconds I wondered if she had actually thought about any of it. I turned the page. The tone shifted in the first sentence. She wanted me to know that what I had done was humiliating and unnecessary. She knew I had spoken to the HVAC wife and the hairdresser. She knew I had handed Craig a packet. Boris had come to her after school confused. Diamond had cried at the dinner table. Then the line. A real nurse would know how to handle conflict without hurting children. I put the letter down on the table and read that sentence again, and I saw the whole thing. The first page was bait, the softness, the apology, the I understand, all of it designed to lower my guard. The guilt about Boris and Diamond was the hook. The accusation about a real nurse was the actual message. Everything before it was wrapping paper. You are the villain. I am the mother. I am the victim. I sat at my kitchen table and picked up my phone. I didn't write a letter back. I didn't walk over. I didn't call Gloria. I opened my text messages and typed 4 sentences. Donna, I asked you privately to stop dozens of times. You responded by spreading lies about me and calling my job. I will not apologize for telling the truth. Please do not contact me again. I read it once. I didn't change a word. I hit send. Then I went into my contacts and blocked her number and every app I could think of where she might reach me. An hour later, there was a knock at my front door. Not loud. 2 short taps. I opened it and Craig was standing there alone. He had the packet folded in his hand. His voice was lower than it had been in the driveway. He said, I read all of it. I waited. He said, I knew. I just didn't know how much. The HVAC guy's wife called my wife 6 months ago. The hairdresser left her a note at the mailbox a month after that. Both times I asked my wife about it and she told me they were lying. I believed her because she's my wife. He paused and looked at the ground. She means well was the lie I told you. She doesn't. I know now. I'm sorry. I didn't say anything for a moment. Then I told him, Craig, you don't owe me an apology. He looked back up. Yes, I do. I let her stand in your driveway with my back hurting and ask you to do her job for her. He turned and walked back across the lawn. I closed the door. I picked up the letter and the envelope and walked them to my bedroom and put them in the drawer with the screenshots and the log and Lorna's statement. I closed the drawer. I made dinner. I did not look out the window.